are you? Let's engage on the chat. What are your expectations today? And the question we are asking is, love makes the world go round and money makes it spin.
To be associated with a man who is not a provider. Who among us can want to associate with a man who is not a protector? When these attributes are not included even in the modern day lifestyle of relationship, then a relationship is likely to suffer a dysfunction. Again, as a part of the introduction, gender norms are normally social expectations about women and about men, how they should behave in certain areas. However, remember, it is not necessarily the couple that is enforcing this. No. People are coming in with what you call a cultural mind, a cultural encapsulation. For example, I would say the Luya community, the men are expected to do this. The Luya woman is expected to do that. So you will find that the larger society perceives that woman, perceives that man, and expects certain functions. And some of those functions that are very, very critical is to provide, And I think I will move away from that. And then I want you to look at some of the statements that are very, very interesting here that I want you to react on. Statements like, mwanaume ni pesa. By the way, anybody who has heard of that? Mwanaume ni pesa. Let me explain. When a man has no money, it becomes a really challenge even to approach any girl, any lady. And I want any man who is here, when we begin to engage each other, we hear whether this is contrary to what is on the ground. When a man has money, even with the least education, but they are wired, they are tuned, they have, their wallets are fat, they can approach anyone at whatever status, it doesn't matter. Then sometimes again, we have had very interesting statements coming now from women, and those who are here can help me know whether this is a dream. Pesa ya mwanamke ni yake. That means that money that is earned by a woman belongs to her. But pesa ya mwanaume ni yetu. That means there's a way this money still comes in to play a major role in enhancing, in kind of like moderating and making the relationship become even stronger. Then thirdly, pesa ya mwanaume ni tamu sana. Tamu in the sense that
Dr. Shikanda, you may need to translate because of our Ugandan and diaspora audience.
There are, sorry, I didn't know we have gone international. That is very encouraging. Let me rewind a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you, Grace. Let me rewind a bit. So when we talk about a man, what that means in Swahili translated into English is that a man, money is what makes a man a man. That brings in out the masculinity. Again, women have been hard to say that a woman's money, which they earn out of their salary or whatever activity they do to generate money, they claim that money is for them. But the money made by the man, whether they are earning it through profits or revenues or a salary, the woman would come in and say, that is our money. All right? They become enjoined to it. And then thirdly, women have again been overheard saying that a man's money is very sweet, meaning however much money a woman has, she will always expect to receive additional money from her man. And when this man is no longer supplying or fueling that, it is likely to tilt her emotion and even affect her femininity. Actually, we will be able to see in our, as we progress on with this webinar, that there is a very strong correlation to the emotional impact a woman has when her finances are oiled without breakages. So you'll find her glowing most of the time. And if it is the woman who now provides and the man is no longer doing it, the glow in the woman goes down and the ego in the man as well goes down. So we will look at that as we progress on. Let me talk about issues of masculinity and money in relationships. And that is now, this is like the crust of today's webinar. This is the engine. This is the reason we are sitting here, and I would encourage us, and just like I know Grace and Jacinta are picking up questions, and not so that when we begin to engage one another, this is going to be the driver. The male ego would be wounded when their ability to provide is diminished. Let me put it this way. Sometimes the woman would not even have indicated that the inability of the man to provide is overruling the cultural aspiration. When they do anything, the man might even overreact and thinking perhaps, are you saying that because I'm not bringing money? Are you doing that because I'm no longer the one in control? So anything that, when a man loses the ability to provide, the ego is wounded. And remember, the ego of a man, once it is wounded, it causes many other things to dysfunction, including their sexuality is caused to dysfunction the moment their ego is wounded. Then similarly, when a woman usurps the role of a man and becomes the sole breadwinner or provider, her femininity is rattled. A woman is out there and wired to receive. That is basically how God wired a woman, to receive, to be loved, to be cared for, and protected by this man. And when a man fails to perform these roles, the glow, as I said, is inhibited. It doesn't matter how much oil and or cosmetics she puts on herself. That glow that is propelled from her comfort or her relaxation of the mind and affecting the outer skin will not be there. So money is basically a critical component in making any relationship to stick, to work, and to have what we can call a continuity on a continuum without a disruption. So again, some other studies will show that money is not everything. It's not everything in a relationship. But when it comes to coping with the stress, with the stressful issues, and there is money, all right? Money will do what? Increase the number of options available to eliminate sources of that stress. So meaning money, when it comes in, irrespective of other stressors that are around the couple, irrespective of the stressors that are surrounding the individual within a relationship, they are able to mitigate that. For example, when they have any conflict, they can afford to pay a fee to come and see a counselor or a therapist now like myself or any other. Or they can take each other and go out on a vacation and go on and try to mitigate or sort out the issues. But when there is no money, I can assure you, they are sitting together, looking at each other, scratching their heads and wondering. And I've heard sometimes during my counseling sessions, a woman would ask the man, why can't you go and do the things like the other men are doing? What things are these other men doing? When you look at it and try to qualify that statement, they are bringing in resources. They are supporting their wives and their families. Why are you not doing the same? So stress is eliminated, and options to deal or to mitigate with the stressful issues is reduced when there is money. Again, this in return, when that is happening, it boosts what we call positive emotions in relationships, right? Studies then again argue that what we call gender norms are important to understand why women's employment, because there are women here who are in employment and men's non-employment and women's higher education and relative to their partner, or women's higher earning relative to their partner predicts higher rates of divorce and separation. Let me tell you, this is a game changer. There is no well, of course, the women of today, you will notice that quite a number of them are earning a bigger a paycheck, a bigger package. But then, does this anchor well with a man? The answer is no. Men always want to be on top of things. Even they gravitate towards jobs that are controlling, positions of authority and of power. And when a man has more money, they feel like they have power, they have control. And sometimes not necessarily negative control, but the fact that when money issue arises, they are the ones who are pulling out the wallet and supplying or making that possible. Then they feel, I am empowered, I am the man. The ego is sustained. But when the woman is the one with a bigger paycheck, then the ego of the man would be wounded. And several studies here have indicated it becomes a predictor of higher rates of divorce as well as of separation, because that time any woman would be feeling, what the hell, I can be able to sustain myself, to keep myself. But when there is money is coming in from one direction, then it is possible that this woman may, that humility may come in, compliance may come in, and therefore they may be able to negotiate, in that particular relationship. For example, the financial stress approach predicts men's non-employment could lead to relationship trouble based on what? Economic stress. Imagine for a moment when we had, I think, COVID-19. Yeah, COVID-19. And it caused many of the couples to stay in the house. Did you know the stress levels were even higher? Because nobody, I mean, women staying in the home is a normal thing. But for a man to be kept in the house, why? Because you are jobless. When others are waking up and going out, and you are consistently staying in the house, that is likely to tilt the relationship of that particular couple, because the roles are being reversed. Again, some empirical studies have shown that although money cannot buy love, but money has been found to complicate it. Complicate it in the sense that when there is a lot of it, sometimes it can push some of the men into levels of mpango za kando, promiscuity, having other side chicks, some other relationships on the other side. Again, the same has been found in studies that when a woman has more money and they have the power to move around, go out there, do this and that, they have also been followed up and found there is an element of promiscuity that is coming from such a women when they are empowered. Although majority of those who will do that is the male gender. Again, studies cite money as one of the most common sources of couples disagreements. I have had which finally lead to eventual divorce. I have had couples coming in and they sit for therapy, and then you will hear what each one of them waits for the other to be the one to pay for this or pay for that. When there is no structure on who pays for what, that can become a source of disagreement. Or it can be that one person, you are taking too much money on your side of the family, you are supporting too much money on the side of your family at the expense of our own family and functioning. That becomes a source of disagreement. And as you can see, issues of money, so and which can lead to divorce eventually. So what are we saying? Scholarly research also has indicated that money is a central issue to couple relationships from the earliest years of partnerships, meaning through the process of divorce. Even I think we begin from elements of courtship. It has been also been found that it is very easy for a young man who has money, who has a steady job, to get attracted, to become attractive to women who are potential suitors and potential wives, as opposed to one who doesn't have that. Take, for example, today's generation. You want to meet in coffee shops. Coffee is not cheap. Coffee needs money. You want to meet in restaurants where you do dinner, you are doing a lunch, you are doing a meal. That costs you something. When you look back at the days when Okongo would say, when men were men, some of these things were being done on the roadside, and it didn't cost anything on the roadside. Talking about it, we have dates meeting there, we discuss our issues, and then but when money became the central denominator, then the rain started beating both genders. So without money, it becomes almost a difficult thing for anybody, for that reason, to get a breakthrough in the relationship. Maybe I could make a pause and take a few questions, Grace, if that is okay with you, so that we can make the discussion, the webinar, fairly interactive for that matter. Grace?
So you can put your questions on the Q&A because I'm just smiling because part of how we came up with this conversation, my friend and I were talking about this thing of money and relationships. And one thing that we were wondering is we have quite a lot of divorce cases, and people say that it's because of infidelity, others say it's because of finances. Where is the research? Because I'm sure you have read quite extensively on these matters. So what is the research around it, and what are the facts technically?
You call it divorce? What did you?
The biggest cause of divorce. Some people say it's infidelity, others say it's money.
Yes, it is. It is both. Actually, we can look at it and say it could be both, because there are one thing probably couples have never understood in a relationship, that marriage has stages, just like the way we develop when we grow up. So it reaches a certain stage of life, and then people wanazoeana. It looks like life has just become normal, until to the extent that nobody plays a role to nurture or to sustain what originally brought them together. But when connected now to money, especially when those indicators begin to become a little louder, then money comes in now as now the common thing that will cause them now to go separate ways. Why? Because one partner may begin to use money to control the other, or like tightening grips, making sure the other one is not getting enough of it, or making sure money is being diverted in other spaces. So divorce and separation can be tied to money, but there are other underlying causes, and majority of which has been when the woman changed her role from being a housewife and moved over to also becoming a breadwinner. Both of them are coming home, and then you'll find, and I think, Grace, maybe I can put it this way, our participants are aware that the present day ladies, I've heard them say that when they were getting married, they were expecting their husbands will be cooking for them, that they will be doing stuff for them. It is like the roles kind of were either reversed or they got the concept wrong. So the moment they hit the road in a marital situation, problems begin early. And then money makes it a little bit more complicated. We have empirical data, which I think I have here, but I'm not sure why my screen is not showing. I would have been speaking from the empirical data. Have you now been able to see anything on your end, Grace?
No, you can start sharing. I don't think you started sharing. We could see the screen, but it wasn't moving.
Or you could see it then, but it wasn't moving. Let me try again.
Yes.
While you are asking more,
yes, the other question I have is on Matters social media. There's a lot of pressure with I don't know who has been bought for a car. I don't know who's being taken where on Valentine's. I don't know who has gone on holiday to Dubai or to wherever it is that they've gone to. There's all this pressure that is coming with social media. Does it affect the quality of relationships we have because of that influence? And what can we do about it?
I think it does. Without a doubt, it does. Because like when we look at it in the context of my neighbor, my friend, my schoolmate, that is what they are doing. They are able to go out for holiday, they are able to go out for dinner. Why are we not able to do the same? And then the issue of the social media also brings in what you call the Western culture aspects of it. So like the African Luya Kikuyu Kamba girl and couple would want to replicate what they are seeing happening on the other side of the Western culture, and they want to reproduce it right here. Remember, when you talk about social media and the impact it has, it begins all the way from the use of the cell phone. Use of the cell phone, because this has become the media or medium of exchange of secrets and passing of messages, people sitting together, but then one is still actually talking to Mpango Kando or a side person without when the other one is actually present. And when people go out on such or on such outings, you will still find another person within that community of where they went to hitting on the other. I don't know when I'm making sense there, because going out to an evening function, depending on what the people went to do in the social aspect, probably if they went to have one for the road, then things again spiral out of context, then it can become a source of concern on that context.
Now, Shikanda, let me ask you another question. They say that courtship requires a man expresses his love for the woman. Can this be achieved without money?
I think it can, but you see, that's a very interesting question you're raising. I think it can, but the opportunities in which that expression would be made would require a venue where money would have facilitated it. That is the challenge, because like you have seen the Western culture, the way they first of all take the other partner to a restaurant or into a cozy place, and then they go down on one knee and then pull out a ring to express love or give out a gift. That is money. So I don't think in the present dispensation that expression without the supporting gift or supporting venue can have a significant meaning. Is it possible for somebody just to tell the other one, I love you? Oh, yeah. Would they believe it by seeing their body language and the expressions thereof? Of course they will. But now it will require they begin to follow up these emotional expressions they are showing one another with the going to maybe like what you mentioned, those who are financially endowed, they jump onto the plane, go to Dubai, go where, go to Mombasa, go to somewhere, that kind of thing. It will now involve money. But the initial one of saying, expressing the emotion to one another, I think it can be done without money, but money will now come in to reinforce what they have begun.
All right. And then we have a few questions. Do we take the questions or you want to finish with your presentation? I can see Peggy and quite a number of people, whatever, asking questions. Do we take the questions or do you want to finalize on the presentation?
Questions would be more critical because I think it looks like the topic is in their heart.
Yeah, so Peggy is saying, the issue of disclosure, when is the right time to disclose matters finances during courtship? And then don't you think this topic may make gold diggers fall for the money as opposed to the real love?
Oh, interesting. That Peggy's question is very interesting. When does one make a disclosure? For most of those who go for what you call premarital counseling prior to making a commitment to one another, when they are before a marriage counselor, not necessarily, I'm not now talking about the pastoral or the religious one. We are looking at a professional counselor who handles what you call marital counseling. They cover a wide spectrum, actually literally every sphere of how they relate, including children, discussing the number of children they think the couple may want to have in their relationship. And now then it comes in the issue of money. Now they discuss money with the help of the therapist and then make disclosure of this is the much that I'm earning, and the other one says that is the much they are earning. Then they bring it together and say, if you are now to distribute roles before the counselor, what other disclosures would you make when additional monies are made to you? In practice, actually in theory, Grace, that is what should be happening. But in practice, there are issues that have come up and revealing the issues that disclosure is not being made fully. And let me tell our participants and audience here, the moment people begin to have secrets, they are getting money, they have secret accounts, and the other partners does not even know about it, that is the beginning of a problem. And we have had people who have and God forbid probably have died, and they had secret accounts which their partners did not know. Do you know it becomes very difficult? And that is why you see adverts by the government asking people to make inquiries to just find out if the assets they have, the money they have in places, and they are not aware, they are not in the picture. Disclosure for honesty and walking in the light should be done early, meaning pay slips should not be kept secret. They should be kept open, right? If you have any investment, make it known to the other. However, again, there is a caution on that. The person you are making disclosure to, if their accountability and integrity has a problem, then wisdom again dictates that the other person may have to use their wisdom to know what to bring on board on the reveal and what to keep back. Because there are others, when they know you have the money, they keep theirs and then want to make sure they have spent the other partner's money until it is depleted and theirs is just kept somewhere. So, of course, the disclosure will actually be supported by honesty and wanting to work together as the way God would have wanted them to be as a partner.
All
Peggy,
right.
thank you for that.
Yes, and I'm just listening to you and looking at what's happening on the comment section. What
Yeah.
is your comment about love languages, and do you think they really matter when it comes to relationship and the money part? I see you see I see somebody saying I think it was Daniel. Let me just confirm who it was who talked about different. Yeah, it was Daniel. Different languages of love, and then Peggy says Daniel, quality time requires money, and Daniel says time is money. So, but on a
Quality
serious note,
time.
though.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and as I mean, we have quality time, we have all these languages of love. Do they really matter, and to what extent does money interfere with all those?
I think money does. Money does have a way of exciting the parasympathetic levels of the brain to make that person become appealing to the other person. All right, let me put it this way: that when one has money, they open up and they become more emotional and even express their love, and you will discover the language changes. They have honey, babe, you know, they are babying the other, they are honeying the other, because I know they can also be able to confirm to that honey, to that babe, I can do this, I can support you, I can finance you, I can do the other. But the moment that money becomes a challenge, and especially for men, what do we do as men? We withdraw. Withdrawal for a man, and then aspects of isolation become very common. In fact, we put it this way: in Swahili we say anakaa kama kuku ambaye amenyeshewa. It's like a hen that has been rained on, cannot spread their feathers. They just keep held onto themselves. They can't say anything. They cannot give any direction. They cannot provide any leadership in the house. They cannot even give love language to make the other person know, I am your man, or I am the man within the house or within your life. They go into their cocoon. So money has a way of propelling or bringing out the love language. But remember, these love languages that we cite most of the time, they are wired on Western culture. What is their meaning? To me, a Luya, what is their meaning to you, a Kalenjin or a Kikuyu? Do they have that significance in the same context as your culture? Many of us want to deny the fact that we are still culturally encapsulated and say, oh, we are now modern people. There is nothing like modern. Culture is like DNA. And sometimes, as much as we try to emulate what we have seen on the social media and other spaces, bringing in foreign or alien cultures, we always need to go back and look at what would make a Luya, a Kikuyu, a Kamba, a Giriama, a Tanzanian, or whoever from whichever country you're coming from, make you understand me better. Have you known that when you are even in a church setting and somebody was making a speech, when they reach that area where they translate it in their vernacular, you seem now to identify more strongly with what they are saying as opposed to when they were speaking in the other foreign language like English. Yes, we have words that we have emulated from this other end, but I believe the cultural way of bringing out love and the languages thereof may have a very big significance.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. And I think what you're saying is money is really a tool. There's a quote that says that money is a tool
It is a
that can
tool.
help you navigate. Good evening, Mr. Ravi. Ravi is a very good friend of mine. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ravi. There's a comment by Martha who said, and I don't know the mother, anyway, let me try and get it. Societal expectation dictates that a man dictate man to provide and woman to receive. This has been there for long. How best can this be handled to strike a balance in the modern society? And the same one as the same one, Ravi comes and says, I agree with societal expectations of a man. However, the same society, which also has a narrative about submission and nurturing for women. Okay. If you, I don't know, I'm not able to read that fully. I think I did it on the
Yeah,
question and answer. But yes, okay, let me
I've
just
got
move
it.
on. You've got it. Uh-huh.
I've got it. I think when it says society dictates, all of us are products of the society. If you look at the way a boy child is socialized right from the parenting style, and you look at how the girl child is also socialized in the parenting level, it is like we begin to prepare this boy, we begin to prepare this girl with that femininity to in the understanding that the boy, like, let me use very clear specific examples. A boy child falls down and then they come back to the mother crying, and you hear mama saying something like, you are a man, men are not supposed to cry, right? So that already society is beginning to tell that man, hey, there is something about you that is different in this context. So that means then the security, the provision part of it, and the society also has what we call a broader expectation of how a man should behave in the society and how a woman should behave in the society. And the moment any one of them begins to go an opposite direction, usurping the roles of the other, then the society, not even the couple themselves, the society comes in to try and correct them or think this is a malfunction. So does it dictate that? I think the answer is yes. And if we followed what the society says, it is likely that we may keep our marriages stronger. irrespective of the modern day woman, how much you earn does not necessarily make that woman an authority figure over the husband. All right. And irrespective of how much money a woman makes, if the two people are in agreement and understanding, it should not make the man to feel inferior. The man will only feel inferior and the ego wounded if the woman uses terms or words to intimidate, to demean the man in terms of their differences in strength. But the dictates of the society, they are like DNA. They are not changing today. They are here to stay.
And you said that having a lot of money also affects relationships, right?
Oh, it does. It does.
Because it forces people to have, they call them paracetamol relationships now.
It forces, money can cause somebody, when somebody has no money, they hardly leave their houses, Grace. They want to stay indoors. Like when you're walking around, you might step on ladies who are spreading tomatoes on pavements, even in the streets, and then they demand that you pay, and you have nothing to pay it with. So in that context, a man without money hardly leaves their space to go anywhere. So you can imagine when that money is there, what happened? They grow wings. They are able to fly here. They are able to go there. They are able to drive out. You hear, I'm going out to be with my friends. I'm going out there to meet so and so. I'm going out there to do this and that. But when there was no money, this person is glued into and on the seat in the house. They don't make any movements.
But Dr. Shikanda, I have seen quite a number of men when they are broke is when they still find a way to take two. And then they come to the house and say they don't have money, and the wife is wondering, how did you afford alcohol and you could not get to the money?
Sometimes, alcohol has its own way of financing through the friends, and those who go and take alcohol, probably they went there when they had just enough for the two bottles. What are they going to do? They are going there to mitigate or to deal with the emotional pain, because the moment the man has taken beer, it comes in to give them what you call beer muscles. It gives them what you call fictitious ego that would have been impeded when they didn't have money. They can now be able to face this woman. They can be able to face the partner and be strong enough to challenge them. So the reason why a man would go and drink when they are left with very little money is to gain what you call extra strength to mitigate the emotional pain, and at the same time strength to be able to face and confront the female in the house in the event that they come with certain questions. But who buys? Sometimes friends do. I have never known how that happens. These other friends may not even give you money for food. You are crying, there is no food in the house, your rent is not paid, but they can buy you beer. I don't know whether beer is demonic, I have never understood, but there is a way that beer will still come.
I hear you. I hear you. And
Yeah.
there's somebody who's saying currently there are a number of divorce because of money, being that why could a woman stay in the church for good, bad, and worse until death? Does it become psychological thing or emotional aspect?
Is that a question or a comment? I didn't get
I
it.
do not understand. Maybe you can clarify. It's from an anonymous attendee. Kindly clarify your question. It's not very clear. Then there's someone who's saying women are now interested with money and not checking true love. What would you suggest for those who are about to get married? Is it men or women or men and women both? But Daktari, you have done
I
research. You
think
can
I
tell us.
think it is both. Grace, it is both.
Yeah, I thought so.
It is both because we have observed, not necessarily that there is a very concrete study, but we have observed we have young men these days who are looking for women who have money, who have resources to marry them. So what are they looking for? They are looking for a sponsoress or something. I don't know if there is such a terminology. Somebody who will support them as they sit back. It is actually both. Women are looking for men who are chummed, who have resources, and some other men who want to usurp their roles. They are also looking for women who have those resources. So it is both.
And so what is your advice to them, to those who are about to get married?
My advice to those who are about to get married, the partners that you choose, let it not be moved by money or the resources they have. Actually, the marriages that you see now and the partners who are so financially endowed, if you went back and looked at their history, they began from the scratch. They were poor, but they have built this relationship together out of nothing, and they have come up to where they are. Sometimes some of the partners, after they have amassed that money, they begin again to have fights up there. But it is always good once you have built the resources together with your partner, always remember where you came from. Don't get up there after your partner has supported you, has propelled you, then you grow wings and fly away and leave them behind. So, what am I saying in a nutshell? Don't choose a partner because of the money. Sometimes, even those you choose who have money, along the way, that money ends. What do? Do you drop the person? Yeah, that would be a good question to answer. So, money is a good medium, but let it not be the determinant of whether you can enter a relationship with somebody or not. All you need to do, assess that individual during the courtship. Do they seem like they are people who know where they are coming from and where they are going? Are they serious in this relationship? Do they seem to, I want to do this, they want to do that? Do they have a plan? Generally, do they have a plan? That is a person to go for. But if you wait for people who have already made the money, there are very few. Oh, there are very few. That means your scope of selection from will be limited, very limited.
Soko has been affected.
Soko imekuwa narrowed down.
So Soko has the people from Uganda. Soko is the market. So Shikanda is saying money. Yes. Anyway, so Shikanda, should couples maintain a joint account? What are the pros and cons?
It can be a yes and no, because there are actually, for me, that's a yes and no. We discussed that mostly during premarital counseling, and I have found it that it would be good if they can keep separate accounts, because the one way to build a relationship is issues of trust. The moment you begin to mistrust one another and feel like the other person is doing that and the other one is doing the other, it doesn't make sense. There are a few of them whom I have known that have kept a joint account, but this joint account, sometimes even on its own, it has its own share of challenges. But that probably the best answer would be what can work for each couple is what they should go for. If they feel like harnessing their money, putting it in one basket, and then agreeing or like drafting a budget, coming up with bills to be paid, and then saying, they draw a check or go to the ATM and then draw a whole sum, a chunk of money, and then say, this is divided for this, that's for that. Again, it is just like if each other had kept their own money. One of the indicators of testing each person's trust is allowing the wife and the husband to keep their own checks, to keep their own accounts. After all, if I'm working for company X and mama is working for company Y, so and the employer has been given a different account, for me that would be much better. But a few of them have harnessed their accounts and put them together. That, in a nutshell, I'm saying it depends on how they think the best way to go. But for me, I would advocate for separate accounts, and then element of trust should come in on how they manage the money.
But in the spirit of investment, yes, just 1 minute. In the spirit of investment and all this money, I've had a couple of friends who, when they discovered that their husbands put their property in their mother's or their own separate names, got very offended. And I have also had some of my friends who've put their mothers and their sisters as next of kin. Then when you go to, for example, even during divorce, when they're splitting wealth, some people end up not knowing that they did not own anything. So what are some of the legal options we have in Kenya that we can avoid this? Or what is your whatever, your comment on that?
Legal options may not be able to enter into that water because I'm limited in that. I'm a psychologist. But what I could say is when it comes to assets, buying of assets, it is always a good thing to discuss it as a couple. Because there are times when one has entered into, for example, a mortgage, right? And the other partner was not aware. And when they default to regularize or to pay the mortgage or the loan, when the lender and the auctioneers come, they come in and even interfere with the properties of the other person who was totally in the dark. If that is your wife, and if that is your husband, surely, why would anyone want to buy a fixed asset or property in their own name and conceal it? Now, the thing you mentioned about um, some buying property and registering it in their mother's names or sisters' names or brother's name, as opposed to the including their spouse. This comes in as an issue of trust. Trust. Maybe the other partner has seen the way the other one functions and knows. Maybe they can even liquidate the property and sell the property. Other times, it could be attachment. Did you know, Grace, there are some people who are married to somebody, but their heart remained back in the home where they came from? The attachment, which can be explained by a theory by a psychologist called John Bowlby, when that unhealthy attachment is there on the home of origin. Somebody got married to another, but their tentacles are still on the other end, then they are most likely to buy property, earn money, and still channel on the other end. And that is a wrong thing to do. The moment you move, like if I may quote scripture, when one somebody said in the Bible and said, your people will be my people, your God will be my God, where you die, I will die. Meaning you have shifted allegiance to the other end. So if you are investing, invest together. Let the other person know. Supposing I buy property in Mombasa, for example, and I'm living in Nairobi, I invest there, put in tenants, and my wife is not aware. What happens if I collapse and die? And nobody knew that I had a property on the other end. That becomes another dangerous thing. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying, it is ideal to buy property together and actually register this in joint names so that when one person is called home, meaning die before the other, the legal intricacies of going to court to prove that I am the legal heir will be limited. You lessen the struggle of the other person. But if you didn't have that name there, that's a challenge you are leaving behind.
That's true. Right. Before we come to you, Richard, I hope you're still here. Before you speak, there is a comment by Miriam who says it is better to get engaged when there is money. Then is where the character is clearly displayed. Without money, especially men pretend to be good. When they get money, they get paracetamol relationships. That is that is what Miriam is saying.
Maybe we can tell Miriam
Eh,
that personalities are not made on the same day. Personalities are acquired from the time when somebody was born, and by the time when they get to 18 years, you can actually be able to tell the personality of this particular person from 18 years going forward. So what you see happening when now they get money, that is what we call the real them that had been hidden. This is the person whom they have been all along. But the partner, because of love, emotion, They were so much engrossed in love, feeling emotional about the person, but they missed out to see these indicators. Mapema indicators were there, but they missed them out. Not because the money has come, then they have changed all of a sudden. No, that is their nature.
That's true. Richard?
Thank you, Dr. Shikanda. You are always very enthusiastic in giving us the tips that will help us maintain relationships. I have this question. In the morning or yesterday, I did see a meme of a lady who was saying that somebody invited me for a date. I dressed very well, and then the man texted, we are going to split this 50-50. And then she changed from there. Nice clothes. She went into jeans. She went into sneakers. Comment on the 50-50 thing. Two, I want you to talk about the issue of suffering in the Range Rover, that it's better for me to suffer in the Range Rover than probably be happy in a bicycle. Is it wise? Is it a wise thing? The third question, which is the last one, is you have a partner who loves expensive gifts. How do you deal with this? You have a partner who loves expensive things. How do you communicate? No, this is what I can scratch, and that is it. How do you communicate with these people? Thank you, Doctor and Grace.
Thank you. And Shikanda, maybe you can also combine Richard's last question with the, how do you deal with a woman who tells you you have to provide for her 100%, despite her earning some income?
I think we could begin with that one, and that's just being unrealistic. Honestly, that is being unrealistic, and it's probably an indication there is no love involved. There is no love. If you love the other person, why would you want to become like a coupe, like a tick? You want to stick on the person, suck them to the last drop, and then they drop dead. When we come together, we are partners. Partners in the sense that we share in the joys, we share in the suffering. So if a woman has income, really put on the table and say, these are our expenses. How much of this can I take as the woman, and how much of this can the man take as the husband of the home? So I think that those ones just need psychoeducation, and they need to be counseled. They need to be processed, because some of this meanness has a connotation to the personality of the person. It is a personality issue. So they need to be debriefed and then brought back to terms with the reality. And expensive things, my brother, may not necessarily have begun now. And I normally advise the younger people when they are going out for dates. When you get into a restaurant and you ask for the menu, young man, watch the kind of meal this lady will ask for. If she goes for a very expensive, complicated meal, there is already a red light. If you bring this person on board, that's already a red light. Hapo kuna danger, because the loving of expensive and good things does not begin abruptly. The indicators were there during the courtship, and maybe the man also missed to see that. People in a Range Rover or in a very expensive house, maybe they are paying 200,000 shillings as long as I'm living somewhere in Runda or living in Kileleshwa. But when I'm inside that house, basic needs are a challenge. Do you know that can be seen like we have a reversal of order? What is good? What is it? Ride a bicycle and be in love, ride a bicycle and have my basic needs met, or drive a Range Rover, a fuel guzzler, and just give people a public show that we are also in the other level of life. I think that is not right. Live within your means. I think that is what I'm saying. Live within your means in a nutshell. Then there is this question of 50-50. Should it be 50-50? Supposing one person earns more, why should it remain 50-50? The ratios should keep on fluctuating. Yeah, that's what I mean. Should keep on fluctuating depending on the levels of income that is coming in. Thank you.
All right. And Hudson asked, is there a relationship between money and GBV? Gender-based violence.
Gender. Yeah, is there a relationship between that? In our observation of some of the people we have dealt with, especially on the what you call gender-based violence, when of course a man has noted that their masculinity, the authority has been usurped by what this woman is doing within the home, as opposed to what is doing, then they may want to enforce their what you call their power by sometimes being aggressive, just to show mimi ni mwanaume, I'm the man in this particular space, and any slightest provocation can be met with a violence reaction. So there is a correlation. There is a correlation. Money and GBV are actually related. It's a correlation.
There's something I learned about a year back, and I think it was from Simon Bevy. Simon Bevy told me or taught us that money to a man is identity and money to a woman is security. And sometimes that's why when there's no money, then the man loses their identity. And when there's no money, the woman loses security, and therefore sources of conflict arise. I've seen both men and women, when they are broke, they are very, very sort of mean, for lack of a better word. Where there's, I've seen men become very petty. I've seen men become very rude and have madharau ndogo ndogo. And then I've seen women who get verbal diarrhea when there's no money, and that is when they're like, you're not even man enough. You don't provide for me, right? So I've seen some of this. What do we call them? If Shikanda, if you were not offering exams, I would come and do psychology. Please call me for those short ones.
Yes, I will. Actually, I will. I'll give you a good offer. I will. I will. And what you are mentioning, Grace, is very critical, because money kind of like destabilizes everybody's emotions. When the money is not there, petty issues, squabbles are bound to arise for both genders. And the woman in particular, who is wired to receive, you will find a woman asking the question, if you don't have money, where do you expect me to go and get it? In other words, she's asking you, do you want me to go to those other men? Right? And if I go to them to ask for money, for sure they will not just give it out for free. So it creates those kind of tilts the emotions for both genders. Yes. And men in particular become stressed, and it can degenerate into depression. And that's when you have heard of things like committing suicide. It becomes very common among the men who have lost finances.
There's somebody on my inbox right now saying, I got a proposal from a jobless man. I actually just could not say anything.
That's a good one.
And Lucy Njoroge is here saying, I don't think it should be 50, but everyone should bring their 100% and 100%. Now, Dr. Shikanda, we are about to get to 9:30, so we need to close before then. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was Hudson who said, God made man, man made money, and money made man mad. What does it imply in relationships?
I think that's a saying we have always heard when I was growing up as a child. And actually, it is the most saying that I had in the undeveloped world, like in Kitale, where I grew up in the farm. They would say, money, God made man, and man made money, and money made man mad. Is that right? Yes. Because you see, God did not make the money. He has the gold in the ground that we dug up. And then we came and connected value. Like you've heard one of our participants here saying she was approached by a jobless person and she just kept quiet. So you see now, this money issue, if it was not because of money, this is probably a very handsome man. The behavior of this individual could be, oh my, out of this world. He might be a very loving person, but because of money, I would even have advised that lady, she could have played with this psychology a little bit and just go a little further and engage them and then find out what happens.
She said she refuses that spirit. She's not dealing with brokenness. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody is saying Kitale is a grown, and yes, I meant I grew up on the farm, and in those days there, that is the only thing we knew. If you can remember the foot slopes of Mount Elgon, that's where I grew up. Very typical down there. But these days I drive through there. Kitale is a city. Yeah.
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 There's somebody saying, what, and probably this is our last question. What happens if you always give your partner support? He asks for money, you send him, but when you ask him for him, even 2,000, he doesn't have. And that time you can count like 50K you have ever sent to him. Hey, Richard, you seeing problems of money.
That could also be informed by certain personality disorders. We call them maybe borderline personality disorder, where somebody can become more of a dependent in the sense that they are even mean to themselves. Like they can't even spend money on themselves, and they want to be sponging and stinging on other people, and they don't spend their own resources. That could be a personality disorder. They might need therapy.
That's true. And somebody is saying there are very wealthy men who are very violent to their wives. So money can be either way. Yeah, yeah, it's not one
That's
way.
true.
Interesting. Richard, do you have anything else?
Grace, I do not have anything else. It has been a delightful discussion by the very enthusiastic, very hilarious Dr. Shikanda, as always. I don't know if you remember as me, but I remember him very well. Thank you very much.
I remember you. I remember you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Caleb Sunguti, you needed to say something before we get a parting shot from Daktari? Caleb Sunguti? Caleb Sunguti, your hand is up.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening
You
to
can
you.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Caleb. I've been following. I joined in a bit late, but thank you very much, Daktari, and the host. This is one very important area. I'm an elder. I'm about 60 now. So I have gone through it. And Madam, when somebody said she was approached by a broke man, I thought of myself when I approached my wife at Kenyatta University. And she actually says that apart from my physical appearance, she came from a richer family than mine. And actually, she says if it was a tender, she only approved me the tender because of a possibility, a prospect, a future. That she certainly thought that this guy has promise. And I think I've delivered on that. I think the answer I would like to say to Daktari, the issue of financials in deciding on a partner is a continuous evaluation. It should not be a static observation that you find a young man who is not financially very stable, and on the basis of that, you can actually conclude that he will be poor throughout. There are stages through which young people go, and I'm doing something called personal financial management. I'm a lecturer. And I can tell you, and a consultant, I'll tell you that there are many people who need this kind of knowledge. I heard you talk about joint accounts and no joint accounts. And I believe that we need to help couples understand how to balance. A wife can have some more money. You can have another amount. It just depends on, as Daktari said, the level of trust. So I think it is a discussion that can go a bit further, because I have now children who are married, and I believe they need every time I talk to them. And I believe that it is a question that, or a conversation that needs to be talked even to adults or parents who are parenting young adults who are getting into relationships. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you for that. Caleb, Nikal, Edwin Anyikao, did you want to say something? Okay. Their hand was up. I thought they needed to say something, but if not, I think we can go ahead. And Patrick is saying, we do not have universal answer to relationships and money. Our socialization has serious effects to any marriage. That's a comment from that one. And yes, I see Miriam, you taught them at PAC. A very rich conversation. Yes, I think today we have achieved our goal on this Valentine's, and I look forward to a conversation next year. Yeah. Somebody saying, what if a man is not young? So anyway, Dr. Nikal, Dr. Shikanda, please give us your parting shot.
Thank you, every participant who has been with us. Thank you, Grace and your team and Atara Solutions as a whole. One thing we need to understand is that money is a good medium when it comes in, but let's be guided in our relationships by values, which are either coming from our cultural background, the values that we get from our religious affiliations, and then be driven by the love and the trust that is between us. And to me, that is the game changer, because this money can have ups and downs. One time you have it, another time it's gone. And then what do? The relationship must continue until death do you part. Thank you, and I wish you all the best of time and making adjustments in our lives. Out of Atara Solutions program, our relationships are going to be much better. Thank you. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shikanda. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I look forward to more conversations and more enlightenment. I think you actually as changing the world as well, one person at a time. And I think we need to really continue having these conversations to see where we can take our relationships and our psychology to the next level. So thank you very much. Thanks for discussion. Kindly share the clips. We are going to share the recording. It will be uploaded tomorrow, by the end of day tomorrow, and we will share on the WhatsApp group. Please join our WhatsApp group, Atara Solutions. Like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions. Follow us on Instagram, Atara Solutions, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're joining us here for the first time, join our YouTube channel, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And I forgot to introduce my team earlier today because of tech issues. However, nonetheless, don't worry, we shall do that next week. We are discussing the changes on NSSF. How much do you need to be submitting to NSSF? That's a conversation we are going to be having Tuesday next week as we see how the season 7 of Get It Right with Atara Solutions is going. Please join our Instagram, or rather not Instagram, WhatsApp group. Jacinta, have you shared our WhatsApp group? And please join us on the 20th of February when we're having a conversation around money, and we have a road trip coming up on 12th of April down in Nanyuki. Please join us in Nanyuki on the 12th of April for an engaging learning session and fun as we drive down to Nanyuki together. So let's do that in April. But for now, see you next Tuesday, same time, same place. My name is Grace Nzula. I am your host, of course, with Catherine Sidandi, our sign language interpreter, and Richard Magoma, my co-host as well, who does interview coaching. And of course, to you, our audience, we are grateful. To Dr. Shikanda, thank you very much for your time. And let's keep growing together and let's keep impacting you guys. It's good night and happy Valentine's in advance. Valentine's is when? Friday. So happy Valentine's on Friday for those who are celebrating. For those who are not celebrating, please celebrate yourself. It is important. Good night.